Hey, young startups. In this video, the second of a two-part series, we are joined again by Terry Dehghani. Terry is the founder of the YouTube fan channel Blue Abroad. And in our first video, we unpacked Terry's business model using the business model canvas. If you missed that first video, I encourage you to go back and watch that. And I'll see if I can work out how to see how people link it up in the corner somewhere. But in this video, I'd like to do a bit more of an entrepreneur spotlight on your journey, Terry. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great. Looking forward to recounting the steps.
Yeah, well, obviously YouTube started in 2005. You're a little bit younger than me, but I can't imagine that you grew up thinking I'm going to be a YouTuber. So can you take us through that journey, maybe starting from your high school days? Um, Obviously, I know you've had another professional career as well. So maybe how did that, well, firstly, how you got into that professional career, and then like, how do you get to where you are now?
Yeah, so born in 91. So, my reality was in high school anyway. Obviously, YouTube comes later on in life, but my reality in high school was, study hard, either go and do a trade or pick a course that you want to do, go to university, which was a big deal for me and my family. None of my parents finished school. So it was a big deal to have, the firstborn go to university. And ultimately it was about, pick one of the 20 jobs that are on offer and go down that path and work in that industry for, 40 years until you retire. So that's just all that was available, it seemed. So 2008, I graduated from high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just based my decision around what do I love studying, and legal studies was my favorite subject. Then there was also the component of, okay, well, it pays very well. I can set myself up financially and whatnot. So I was worked really hard in year 12. It was good enough to get the score I needed to get into law school, studied, did my degree, 4-year degree. So obviously at this point where, we're moving in towards 2013 is when I graduated. 2014 is when I got my practicing license and started working. And that was what I wanted to do. That was everything I wanted to do. That was the big goal and the dream and the ambition. So getting there, it was a great feeling. I made everybody proud, all the family. I was working in a good industry. I got a job early as well. And I always wanted to live and work overseas. That was always something I wanted to do. But at the same time, I also had this mentality of I didn't want to take a gap year. I wanted to get some professional work under me and then head off. That was the strategy. And again, I didn't know anything about the world. I'm still trying to figure it out now, I think. But I think after 3 years of full-time work as a lawyer, I wasn't enjoying it as much. I was noticing the world change. And this is where YouTube and the internet start really coming into my thoughts. And I've always been very observant of what's going on. And I think, towards the end of that third year, I just noticed things were changing. People were on Instagram. People were building a life, talking and posting and doing things that so different. Like there wasn't a job title for what they were doing. And I was noticing it. I'm a big Arsenal fan. So Arsenal Fan TV is probably definitely is the biggest inspiration for starting Blue Abroad. And I was noticing these guys in London, they were going to games just like I would go to Carlton games, and they were talking about their favorite team and what was happening, win or loss, with the fans. And I was watching it week to week, and I'm like, this is unbelievable what's going on here. And then I probably went through a 6-month period where it was just tough mentally, and I didn't know what I was going through, but on the one hand, it was stop being ungrateful. You've got a great job, you get paid well, this is what you wanted to do. And it was just more of you're just going through some life challenges, and that's what this is about. You just got to tough it out and, welcome to adulthood and the real world. And then on the other hand, it was, but like, I hate this. Like, I hate this. I hated going to work. It got to that point, and I remember coming home on certain days and just bursting out into tears and not knowing why. There was this depression and this challenge, and I was fit and healthy and all of that, but I really wasn't happy. So this went on for 6 months, and I think how I dealt with it was I was going on my lunch break every day with a notepad and just writing, like, what's going on? What do you want? What do you want with your life? And it all came down to two things. It was always sport and travel. So that's what it was. We get to March 2017. My best mate, he was in China. He taught English just for a semester, and they needed a teacher. He reached out to me. He knew what I was going through, and he basically said, "Mate, we need a teacher. Do you want to come for a semester and just do something different, have a bit of a circuit breaker?" And I didn't really have any dreams to be a teacher, but I had a big dream to just break the circuit that I was in. I knew that I needed to do something, but I didn't know what it was. And that was just the revolving door that came around that I walked through, and that opened up everything. It changed everything. I took the punt. Imagine walking into your boss's office and saying, "Hey, I quit and I'm going to China for a bit to teach English." So there was a range of different factors there that were going through the head. But ultimately it just came down to taking a punt, taking a leap of faith, and understanding that it's 6 months. Like, we're going to live for, I would assume, 80, 90 years. It's only 6 months. So I did that. And it's amazing what happens when you put yourself in that unknown territory. You start to become a little bit more instinctive, and you actually gravitate towards what you actually want. So I went and taught English. I went and taught English for a semester. Then I did all the networking, and long story short, I got an opportunity with a company that was running the AFL China event in Shanghai.
Okay.
They own the stadium. And for me, that was big because it was, okay, I want to get into the sports world. I don't know how or what it looks like, but this is what I want to move into. And this was an opportunity that just came up out of nothing. It came out of nothing. It just came out of a by chance conversation that I wouldn't have had I not left the country. And so, I landed a voluntary gig with the AFL, just helping to volunteer with Port Adelaide. So I would follow them around, the club, the players, everyone on the team bus, and just help them. I spoke a little bit of Mandarin, so if they needed anything, I was just basically there.
Yeah.
That opened up things. Fast forward, end of the semester, I was coming back to Melbourne. I had a girlfriend at the time. She stayed in Melbourne while I went. She understood that I needed to do this for myself.
Yeah.
And she got a job offer in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And she's like, "What do you think?" And at this point, I was just unlocked. And I knew the magic of putting yourself in that environment where you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing, and you just got to trust yourself that you're going to gravitate towards what you want. Because I think in Melbourne, some people can, I know I was anyway, I struggled to really be honest with myself and people I was talking to, because what are you talking about? You don't want to be a lawyer anymore. Like, what do you mean you want to do sport? What does that mean? But when you're in another country where you don't know anyone, you're comfortable to be totally honest.
Yeah.
So went to Israel, no job, nothing, and just hustled, shook hands, met people. It came down on the 19th day. That's when I got my first job, which was big because I'm not Jewish. I don't have a connection to the land or the country. I don't know anybody. And I had an interview with this international law firm. It was good money. And then I found this sports tech startup, which was like basically 4 people that had just started this company, and the money was $500 a week. And I'd come from being a lawyer in Melbourne, 3-4 years in the system. So I came to this crossroad, and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? What do I really want to do? And I said no to the law firm. I said yes to the startup. And then I was in this sports tech startup world doing marketing and partnerships and raising money for a fund. And it was crazy. And they were sending me to countries, and I was traveling to LA to meet with Spalding and working with sports clubs around the world. And it was just this whirlwind and this validation of, hey, I'm traveling and I'm doing sport. Like, I did it,
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just jump in there? Because some of our young startups may not understand. Tel Aviv or Israel is massive for startups. Can you give us a bit of an insight into that?
Yeah, absolutely it is. So in Australia, we're very structured. You find that job, one of the 20 jobs available, and you work in that job. That's kind of the world that I grew up in. Israel's different. You go to the army when you're 18, if you're a boy or a girl. I think what it does, I mean, no one wants to be in the army at that age, not many people, but they get out of that. And, there's just the entrepreneurial spirit, I think, comes from just survival. And it's a very small place. There's not too many people. Everyone knows the history of the Jews and what's happened with the persecution and all of that. So they get out of the army and then they want to just be free. It's not about finding the job and being defined by the job. And yeah, everybody has a startup. Like it's just whatever. That's just how it is. Everyone's building a company as opposed to wanting to go work for someone.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's obviously the lawyers and the accountants and all of that, but everybody has that self-sufficient mentality of building something for themselves. So coming from Melbourne, where it's very structured and especially the legal industry, and then going into a startup, like my first day was in a lounge room. There was 4 of us with laptops around, and
Yeah.
I had only seen that in movies and read about it. And like to be sitting there living it, it was like, oh my God, this is cool. Like I'm a big fan of being a part of something from the ground up. And yeah, and then to see the company grow. By the time I left 2 years later, we had 17 full-time employees as
Wow.
opposed to 5 when I was the 5th employee. And then like raising the funds to send me to Turkey or Taiwan or Ireland or wherever to go and do these jobs for these sports clubs. It was crazy. Like I talk about it now, I have goosebumps. Like it doesn't seem right. It didn't seem real at the time, and it didn't seem real now. And as much as I do, having said all that, without the legal experience, there's no way I get the job, because my
Yeah.
pitch was, I'm a lawyer, I've got 3 years experience, I love sport, and if I can marry the two together, I can provide value to the company. And that's kind of what got me the job.
Yeah, fantastic. So, I mean, I hear that there's this. You talk about the environment in Tel Aviv and that, but clearly there was something, a little burning flame inside you of the entrepreneurship pretty early on when you were saying, I noticed what was going on. Part of being a great entrepreneur, I understand, is to like notice what's going on around you, right, and to identify the problems or see the opportunities. Where did you think that comes from?
I wish I had the answer. Honestly, I never really viewed myself as an entrepreneur. I don't even think I do now. I guess like the labels are just what everyone else thinks. I've just
Risk
always been a
taker, then.
curious.
Risk
Yeah,
taker.
I come from a tough upbringing. We had we struggled early on in life. We came from nothing, single mum upbringing. Got a second chance at a family with my stepdad, I refer to him as my dad.
Yeah.
And I think there was always this mentality of, I'm going to break through the environment that I'm in. I'm not going to just be a stat in the low socioeconomic environment. I was curious about the world. Honestly, I don't know where it came from. It just, maybe it was being the firstborn and having the responsibility of being the man of the house early.
Yeah.
That could have been the very beginning of it. But and then I guess once you go to law school as well, the main thing that law school gives you is there's so many ways to interpret something. And I always ask why about everything. I don't just take something on face value. I always ask why. I like to go a little deeper. So I think it started there. And then I think once you start actioning on those things, so taking that risk, going to China, and then unlocking that part of your mind, which you realize if you put yourself in a completely foreign, uncomfortable environment and you trust yourself and the person you are, you will gravitate towards what you want. That's my experience anyway.
Absolutely. So how did that go, that conversation with the parents, giving up on law to pursue this thing differently?
Yeah, it was it's tough. I don't know who it was tougher to tell, my mum or my boss.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, they I think they were just more worried as parents about, okay, are you going to be set up? Are you going to be secure? They obviously want what's best for you. But I think ultimately they did trust me. They trusted that that I was smart enough to figure it out. And also, I did my with being a lawyer, you've got to do your first 2 years. On your practicing certificate, there's a condition that says that you're working under supervision. So once you do 2 years of full-time practice, you can apply to get that condition removed, and then you can set up your own company. So that's what I did. And I was thinking back then, we're moving to digital, and I started a blog called Laptop Lawyer, which is still there on Facebook and Instagram. And it was basically, I mean, my boss was paying me X amount, and I was basically doing work for his clients. And if I wanted to earn more, I needed to bring in my own clients. And I didn't know how to do that because I didn't know anybody, but social media happened. So I started a blog, free advice. It brought in more people. That was I guess, the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
because I mean, innovation is born out of necessity. If you're survival, if you want to, and that goes back to the Israelis. They're so innovative because it comes from their survival instinct to stay alive. They're in a
Sure.
very volatile area in the world. So, yeah, did that, and I think a lot of the recounting it now with you, it really is putting pieces together that are linked from my childhood.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a constant theme I'm hearing of that risk taking and trusting yourself. To, to take a quote from a very one of our men that we know, being comfortable with being uncomfortable with, well, with it being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Um, yeah, so there's a theme that's definitely coming through there. So let's fast forward. You're in Israel and Blue Abroad.
Yeah.
How does
So
that all come to be?
So China's where it all really, really began because I was just writing game reports. I wasn't posting them. I was just writing them. And then,
Just for
because
yourself?
again, yeah, just for myself.
Yeah.
And then Israel happened. And the first thing you do when you're an Aussie is like, I knew nobody, had no friends. And I wanted to stay connected. I think subconsciously, I wanted to stay connected to something. So I started the audio podcast. I actually was listening to Gary Vee a lot. He's a big, influence in my life for sure. Just with tips and tricks and tools and mentality. And he mentioned a platform called Anchor, which had just started. You record on Anchor and it distributes your audio to all the major podcast platforms for free. So I started the audio podcast, started Blue Abroad audio podcast only, had an Instagram and a Facebook page, just started there for the second half. So July 2017, I go to Israel, and the second half of 2017, it's the audio pod. 2018, I think it was midway through. It might have been midway through 2018. I start upping to video, and this came from just, again, I'm in Israel. You're in the environment, go-getters, startups, and then it just adds layers to me. And it's like I definitely want to do something for myself, and I definitely have always been someone that chases the instinct and the gut and what I really love. I'm not afraid to pursue my love and passion. And if I do something for a year and I don't like it anymore, I step away. That's just the way I've been, and I'm not afraid to do that. And then I think the big moment, I think, was I actually went to an Arsenal game. I was in London for work. We did this workshop with Chelsea. We went to Stamford Bridge, did this amazing workshop with some of the other European teams.
Wow.
And I stayed an extra day or 2 days to go watch Arsenal play in Cardiff, in Wales. We played away to Cardiff, and obviously going to an Arsenal game, about Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah.
And I actually bumped into Robbie, who's the founder. At the final whistle, he was next to me. We're hugging, shaking hands. And I said, I'm from Australia. He goes, man, you got to come on for an interview. So off I went. And I saw how simple it was, what they were doing. It's literally a tripod, a camera no bigger than mine. And that was it. We did the interview. And then that was kind of like oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to video. I'm going to do it properly. A lot of people talk about, oh yeah, but the AFL doesn't have as much of an audience as the EPL because it's not a global sport. And yes, they're right. However, we have the same amount of passion for our footy teams as what they do, their soccer teams or their football teams. So that was the moment I think I realized, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm doing this. And then came 2019, and then came the realization, well, I've got to do this in Melbourne. I've got to get to the footy. I've got to do it properly. I've got to be there. I've got to connect with people in real life. And then I made the tough choice to drop everything that I was doing in Israel. Broke up with my girlfriend. It was very professional and amicable, and she was chasing her dream as an anchor, and my dream was now to build this company, this sport media company. So that was the next big leap of faith I had to take, and didn't expect there to be a pandemic, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I guess it's for me as a consumer, like it was what almost got me through the pandemic, be able to jump on, the YouTube channel. So maybe your customer, I'm sure it would have been a struggle for you and a lot different to what you expected, but for your customers and your consumers, it would have been probably even more important than a normal season where you get to go to the footy and you get to, sit with your mates, and that, like, we didn't have that this year. So I guess it's a good opportunity to say thanks. Thanks for all the work that you do.
No, it's an honor. I love doing it.
So what does a typical day, week look like for you? Like, clearly it's not all just jump on the camera and talk to the camera. Um, how do you balance what you do with this? I know you do some other things with an organization called Eat Up. You mentioned you still do a little bit of part-time, is it lawyering? I guess it's called on the side. Like, what does a typical day or week look like for you?
Yeah. So the way I've set my life up now is to just sort of live it. I'm trying to build a lifestyle as opposed to just living for the job that I have. Um, so I still do the lawyer work, got the company. I run it with a mate of mine. I do just contracts and
Is
wills.
it the laptop lawyer still?
No.
Okay.
Laptop lawyer is definitely something that's going to start up again
Yep.
soon. Just as again, as a means to bring in more clientele. But at the moment, got a company set up. Obviously, got my practicing license. So just wills and contracts. I work for a charity called Eat Up Australia. So we organise to get food out to kids in Victoria or students in Victoria that go to school with no food. So we deliver the food to the schools. So that's a part-time thing. And then the Blue Abroad is the third stream of my life. So I juggle my week doing the three of those things. The idea and the dream is to have Blue Abroad be my full-time gig. I've been saying that for a while, but I really do enjoy what I do with Eat Up. It's good for the soul. It really is. I've gone from, and I think this was the other thing about the legal industry. I was a criminal and commercial lawyer, and I was helping criminals and I was helping greedy people. And whereas now I feel like I'm helping people that actually need it. So there's a bit of a, I think when you leave Australia, you appreciate Australia a lot more and how lucky we are. I think I just got a different perspective on the world and the type of impact I want to have on the world. That is important to me. I do want to, leave the world with an imprint that I did my bit to make it better than when I got here. So there's a little bit of that there. So that's how I juggle my life at the moment. It's been an adjustment coming back and living here because we are very structured here in Melbourne. And obviously I've come from doing the 9 to 5 grind in the office, in the four walls. And now I have a lot more time freedom and just movement. I don't have to go to an office. This is the studio. It's at my place. So I'm very grateful to be able to, first of all, earn enough to pay the bills and stay alive. I don't need a lot to live. I don't need to have flashy things or whatnot. I'm willing, and obviously doing what I do now, you've got to take a step back financially. You need to, I'll call it, you got to live in the dirt a little bit. And I'm happy to do that, knowing that in the long term, I'm going to build something that's going to be sustainable for me and for others as well. So that's kind of the mentality at the moment. But yeah, I juggle those three things.
What's next for you? What are the goals for? I hate saying using the word resolution, but what are the goals for 2021 and Blue Abroad and for Terry Dehghani?
Yeah, I think 2020 was all about consolidating the platform, building the audience. 2021 is really just about taking things to the next level. Like I've written down some goals and in terms of numbers, and I want to have 10,000 subs and 10,000 followers on Instagram and 10,000 followers on Facebook. Yeah, they're great. They're good, tangible KPIs with numbers behind them. But ultimately it's very intrinsic for me. It's, I want to sit and look myself in the mirror 2021 New Year's Eve and say, oh my God, I'm at my physical, mental, spiritual best. And that's really what it's all about for me. I think over the last few years, and this is just something I'm trying for this year, over the last few years, I've written down a lot of goals for years ahead, and I've done some of them. I haven't done some of them. Whereas this year, I want it to be a little bit more intrinsic, and I want to be able to look at myself and have that honest conversation. Like, are you at your best? And that's what I want. That's where I'm going to be at the end of the year. Blue Abroad, goals for the year. As I said, the numbers wise, all of that. I want to just improve on the quality across the board. We cannot, if you ever get comfortable that like the second you think you're the best, the moment you spend more than 1 minute, 1 second thinking you are at the top, someone else is working harder than you. So it's about not getting complacent, and trying to provide and add more value where possible. And as we've spoken about it before, it's about remaining consistent, because it's all good to work to the top and, or train for that body and get that body, and then you fall off. It's about how can you stay on top and how can you stay consistent for me. So that's really what I want to do. And, I want to be the premier Carlton fan channel out there. That's what drives me. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to provide the most value to the fans.
Awesome. Sounds fantastic. And hopefully a few more extra wins will actually help with that mental health
Oh my God.
as well. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for your time, Terry. If people want to connect with you, how can they do that again?
Yeah, I mean, Blue Abroad on all the platforms if you want to check out the channel, and watch my decline into insanity. Instagram, T Dehghani, Tdehghani, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you like. I'm happy to, and for any of your students, if or even if you're not a student and you're younger and you're in the situation that I was, only 6, 7, 8 years ago, and you just want to have someone to talk to. I didn't have that voice, and I'm happy. I love being that voice for someone that wants it. My channels are open. If you need a little bit of a word or some pointers or whatnot, I love doing that stuff. I love helping and giving back. I think that's important. We have a responsibility, and I feel like I have a responsibility to pass on something that can help someone else, because what I ultimately did helped me, and I'm sure it can help someone else. So yeah, don't be shy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for your time, and go the Baggers.
Go the Baggers, mate.